watching you, following you, hitting on you through the night. When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. With the darkness surrounds me. All your life I was still, I've become the living dead. I own the darkness and know what beats inside of me. I become eternal. When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. With the darkness surrounds me.
Hey folks, how's it going? So, welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. It's a Wednesday night. We're going to be doing it on Wednesday and probably doing interviews on Monday. It's been hectic because we're trying to get moved, and Steady's just got stuff all over the floor, and still got my baseballs up, but that's about it. I ain't got much else. Everything else is pretty much gone, getting packed away. And it's hell trying to move and then trying to deal with all the stuff that we've been dealing with, which we're not going to get into tonight. That's not what we're here. We're here to do a show. And because we don't have a whole lot, no rigidity really on what we're going to be talking about, we can talk about pretty much anything. I'm down for whatever, but I figured I had a lot of Dogman material that I needed to get out, and so we could talk about that. And now that I don't have any restrictions on me for when I can go on and who I'm supposed to be looking out for, other than, like late Tuesday, which I already do it early Tuesday, which is 7 o'clock, I can go on Wednesday now. And can go on Rumble after Blondes and Booze, because I do want to be respectful to them because they're my friends. And so, yeah, it's been a nightmare doing all the things that we got to do, taking care of everything we got to take care of, just getting things done. So we'll do a little bit of open lines, but also I got a lot to talk about when it comes to like the Dogman stuff. That's going to be something that we're going to be talking about again on this coming Tuesday. But a lot has been made about Dogman and portals and whether they come from. This is going to sound funny, but some people here lately have been messaging me and they're swearing up and down that they think that Dogman comes from outer space. And they cited several different people's work, including my own, as the source for that. Now, I will say this. The Dogman phenomena is very real. I've seen one. If that's what you want to call it, a Dogman. I don't know what it is. It looks like an upright canid that should not exist, but it does. And we don't know why or how it exists. It just does. And so I have a story for you tonight, and it's going to be, it's pretty odd, but I don't want to take up all of the time. I have somebody here backstage here. What's going on?
How's it going?
How you doing?
Pretty good. I just saw you were live, so hopped on.
Yeah, no problem. We're just hanging out, One of the things that you and I have discussed here lately, you've been coming on as a regular on the show, and you have a lot of information. And we've discussed a whole bevy of different topics. So what are your thoughts on the Dogman? I don't want to say it laughingly, but it was just because of some of the cases that have we've come across of Dogman seemingly appearing with reptilians, greys, and weird of all
I've seen them with different
mantis creatures.
Not really seen them. I knew a guy who was one of these hybrids, had both that kind of vampiric and the lycanthropic genes to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one thing he really kept private to himself for the most part, but he could see these other things. And around my old home, there were what these guys call crawlers. It turns out a lot of these crawlers, they'll hang out with they'll be tamed by some of these werewolves, and sometimes the dogmen will, from what I've heard, they'll tame these things. They were hanging out in this field across from this old home I had or lived in at the time. It was one of those 3-story A-frames out in the country. There's a lot of stuff there. And I definitely agree that there's something to the UFO phenomena with the dogmen. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised if they're more the agents of some of these black ops groups from underground, but also from probably interplanetary trade routes and all that, going into genetics. That's one of their trading cards. It's kind of like Pokemon, but it's genetics. They're trading the Pokemon genetic cards.
Yeah. And what you just said there, the intergalactic trade routes. Now, people have this image, like I said the other day about economics, it conjures an image of a Loomis truck pulling up and they bring a bunch of money in and that's how they do a transaction. Or it's like on TV where there's just $48 billion that are transferred from one account to the next. That's not how it works. When one corporation acquires another, there's a lot of asset exchanges and a lot of different things that go on. And then there's, of course, currency, but then there's different types of currency, especially nowadays. It's not just one type of foreign currency mixing with another type of foreign currency or several. It could be different types of Bitcoin, ethereal coin, as you will. And so then the same thing goes for like alien trade routes, what you're talking about. Whenever you say intergalactic trade routes, people are automatically going to conjure up a spaceship like Star Wars or Star Trek, and they're coming into airspace. And that's not how that works. They travel through wormholes and stargates, and which are not the same, actually, believe it or not. Neither are vortexes or portals. Those are all different things. Portals are typically, when I think of a portal, it is something that is created. It's not a natural thing. It is something that's been made or conjured up to move through. That would be my definition of a portal. Now, a portal can also be created, as you were saying, through these black ops. They can actually create portals themselves. But when they create them, they tend to be kind of like a square room looking thing. Yeah, hold on one second. James, thank you for that donation, but we are asking everyone to not donate because of my enemies, my detractors, being so, just determined to convince everyone that I beg for money, which I don't. Anybody watches the show, I've never done that. And so they're saying that I do this for the money and that I'm begging for money, which is nothing but lies, nothing but lies. And folks, the video that they tried to say was me, they're taking now to faking videos, which is, now pay attention because it's going to be coming. They're coming out with more stuff. They're going to try and fake. They're going to try and fake messages and fake videos and fake whatever. It was something that one of them was working on when he was supposedly on our team, whatever. And we told him, no, we were not going to fake and lie and post fake messages and make believe whatever. And so that video was not me. Just like the hammer guy, whatever, was not me. I'm going to say it again, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Please stop asking because that is not me. I did not start this, and I'm not going to deal with that anymore, that nonsense. They know the truth, and now they're going to come. Why is it taking them so long to come up with their next video? I'll tell you why. Because they're trying to piece it together to fake some stuff about me. I'm positive they're going to make some kind of deep fake video or something. So just stay the course. Don't believe these people. Don't watch their garbage. It'll rot your brain. Okay. They're going to do, and they're spinning out, they're losing. And so they're just trying to, a war that they started, They're the new Filthy Five. The other Filthy Five are gone except for one, and now they got this new group. Okay, it's not going to stick. Okay, so I'm just going to say that about it, and then we're going to move on. We're not going to talk about it. That's it. That's all we're going to just say. Just pay attention to what they're doing. Watch. It's going to be some bull crap coming out any day. We did meet with the lawyers today. They said to just not say anything, and we're going to meet with them on Friday and hopefully get this ball rolling in the direction we need, and so we can get back to the business of what we're doing tonight, which is why James is here. So, James, go ahead. Do you? Let me ask you this: do you think that these dogmen could possibly be as Earth as a jumping off point between trade routes, as you said? Do you think that they could have been genetically engineered or altered? Like maybe dogs are very powerful.
Most things are.
Yeah, but I mean, let's think about the dogman, right? So wolves and dogs are a very powerful species. If you were from another planet and you had never seen something like a dog, you might be taken in by its predilection to be loyal. And
it's already on the planet and as a dominant predator. That's something I would look for. How can I blend in on this planet? And maybe even within the local folklore, if I'm going to create something that I could sleeve to, so to speak, go into as a body, I would want something that would blend in with that environment.
Yeah, exactly. So why not a dogman? Because to me, if a dogman or werewolf, whatever you want to call it, now that doesn't take away from the fact that there could have already been something here that went by a different name or whatever. But I've gone so far as to say on the show that I believe that there are multiple different things going on here. There are multiple different levels to this. There are different types of spiritual, ethereal ones, and there are different types of in between, and then some that are just purely physical. I really do believe that. And you know, when people talk about your beliefs, it's like your beliefs should never just be set in stone when it comes to this stuff. It should be ever changing, ever evolving. And I'll tell you why. Because it's very simple. If you just get stuck in one mindset and this is it, this is the absolute it for you, then what happens? You know, you don't absorb anything new. Like, you know, for example, like there are people who believe in Bigfoot being metaphysical, people saying that it's purely physical. But both camps seem to be kind of stuck in this mire of this quagmire of this mindset. I'm firmly in the middle, and I'll say this, and this is not to avoid any conflict with anybody, because God knows and everyone else knows that I don't shy away from people, okay, when they want to start something. I don't care. But here's my thing. I believe that there is a species of these Sasquatch beings that live within the earth, and that they are a very, very, very old and ancient race. It goes back to what I said before. The possibility that Tiamat could have created them. And I do believe that the dogman is another type of species that could live within the earth. I do believe that they were a lot smaller than what, like when they were genetically altered to live above. Now, there was a much larger species, I think. Now, what I think is going on with these things running around in certain places, people will argue, they'll be like, well, the Nephilim were giants, they were huge. So if the dogman were created by the Nephilim or the Anunnaki or whatever the hell you want to call them, why would they make them smaller than themselves? And I say very simply, why would you create something that you couldn't handle? You know, if you're a 20-foot tall giant, why would you make something your size that you need to control? Okay, why would you make people so diminutive? Because if you need to kick them, you know, it's like you'd rather kick a Smurf, you know, than somebody your own size that's going to fight back. And so you have to get to the bottom of this stuff. And so what the problem is that people get stuck in these mindsets, and what they do is they bog down in the minutia of whatever religiosity that they fall into. Like, I'll talk to my friends who are Christians or Muslims or Buddhists or Hindu, and they want to explain it from that particular slant. And I said, look, that is one way to look at things. And now I'm not saying that I believe everything that is espoused. I'm not a Sitchin guy. I've said that before. I think there's a lot of flaws in what he says, but I've been roasted over the coals just for the simple fact that I've brought it up and said, hey, this is a possibility of what we're dealing with here. And they were just like, oh my gosh, he worships space aliens. Never said those things. I never said I worship the Anunnaki. I never said any of that. But we seem to have a problem here now in the community where people, if you're not on this super duper religious path that is completely fundamentalist, then you are some sort of an apostate or a heretic, which I'm being called. Well, many of my colleagues were like, oh, join the club, because we've been being called that for a long time. But I refuse, no matter what pressure is brought to bear, I refuse to bend and go along with this nonsensical thinking, because we need critical thinking in this. And that just seems to be out the window right now. Would you agree with that, James? Or what would be your assessment on that?
I would say the same, and even add that people really don't know the definition of the words they use. Religion, for example, it comes from the Latin religare, and that means to bind, snare, and to hold back. People act like their religion is a walk with God, and they go to their churches, which are just buildings. Then they go and do whatever else they do throughout the day, typically very hypocritical of what would even be taught in those churches.
Yeah.
They'll be tied down to their religare rather than having a true walk with God every second of the day.
Yeah, and having a true walk with God and having a relationship with Christ does not mean that you adhere to someone else's spouting out of their dogma, because a lot of times they're spouting out, like I've said before, the Bible having been taken apart by the Catholic Church.
Oh, yes, it's evil.
Yeah, the Council of Nicaea, 325 AD, they took it out and they changed it around. And so whenever you say that, these people lose their minds. Now, I've talked to people and they're like, well, I don't like the Catholics. But yet you read their version of what they give you as the Bible, as the truth. And they're like, no, I don't. And I'm like, yes, you do. Because they're the ones that took it apart and said, you can have this. Now, it underwent some other changes too. Of course, the Anglican Church and many other things that took place. So there's been all these different changes and alterations, and we as a people need to use our thinking as intelligent and informed people to make decisions. And we are being told, well, this is God, but that's their version of what is God. And so I tell people all the time, I'm still looking toward Jesus to give me the answers to who the true God is. But these people, they want to say, well, we've already figured it out. Well, good for you, because all I do, like I said, is cling to Christ like driftwood in the ocean. I've said that many times, but that seems to be too much to ask to be left alone. But when you're looking at these creatures and you're looking at hold on one second. I got to work. This is still working. Never can stop. I'm, like I said before, a workaholic. So, is there a link there that anybody can join? If there is, I see Helbin Hollers in the chat. Yeah, I would love if you guys want to jump on. Just hop on, and you're more than welcome to jump on. Helbin Holler has a very good channel, a good show. Jesse and Joe Doyle, good friends of ours, good friends of PRT, and whoever wants to come on and join the chat, and that's perfectly fine. Or you guys can just hang out and watch. It's up to you. But I just saw you guys in there. I thought that was a work text. It was somebody telling me to invite them. But so if Jesse or Joe or you guys, one or both, are there, you guys want to join, feel free to just hop on and let me know. But anyway,
doing some remote viewing lately and saw this sort of dragon that was under the town here, but it was actually chained up in sort of dark energy. So I did a couple of rituals and released the dark energy from around it.
So whenever you do your remote viewing, you've told me some of the things that you've had before that you've seen. Do you encounter this dragon? Like we had Charles Centers on the show who was talking about this. This is a very common theme too, and a lot of people have claimed to have seen this sort of dragon-like entity. Now, of course, the creation story, Yaldabaoth, is looked at as a dragon's headed
I
being.
would say this one's different.
Yeah.
There's quite a vast difference in those two, and the energy would basically tell me if it was that one.
So what do you think it is? What do you think it was that you saw?
I believe this one, I'm not sure of the name of it, but it's sort of a primordial force under this part of the earth, taking the form of a dragon, at least on those planes of existence.
Yeah.
What I saw there was this sort of darkness. It was literally like a river of dark, or ocean of darkness covering it and holding it back. So I am kind of vampiric when it comes to my energy field. Not one of those unconscious psychic vampires. I use it for the betterment of the world. So I can create an inverse torsion field and quite easily consume negative energy. So that's what I did and lifted that energy up off of the earth.
And what you're talking about too is there is what he's talking about in Kundalini. You are a practitioner, I take it, right?
Well, I see it as the energy in the body.
Mhm.
There's many different ways to use it. It's just
Are you
one way
Reiki?
of saying it.
Are you into Reiki?
I wouldn't say I'm into anything strictly. I do Qigong and Nigong have these sort of interweave to them, more internal martial arts and the movements of the body.
Mhm.
I do that type of stuff along with stretches.
So whenever you absorb these types of energies, they can go to different chakras and then be released. People don't
Well,
understand.
chakras I've learned to be careful of lately.
Well, there
So
are certain chakras you don't want that dark energy near, but there are certain chakras that you can absorb it and then release it. Typically, through the tips of your toes or the top of your head is where a lot of the dark energy can flow out. That's something that a
around
lot of
there.
people are gonna, yeah, the crown of the head. A lot of people will freak out when you talk about that because they're not understanding what that is. They don't get it, and they think it's some sort of witchcraft or you're practicing some sort of sorcery or something. It's not. It's very simple. When you materialize things like through light worked energy, Reiki is a type of healing, and a lot of people use it. And of course, there's the open chakras, and then and so there's all these different types of points in your body, and physically, the pressure points correspond to those areas. This is where a lot of people don't understand. They think, oh, this is some sort of weird new age, whatever. It's not. Let me explain it to you. Acupuncture. They open up certain key points, and there have been people who have gotten acupuncture done, and they have seen sparks and they've seen light and different types of flashes of color and things whenever the needle hits them in certain points. Me myself, I got hit in an ankle with something, and it immediately sent a shock of pain all the way up into my right ear. Reason being, that ankle had been mangled at one point. I hurt it pretty bad. I got it jacked up, and then later in a fight, somebody took advantage of my ankle having been weakened and re-injured it. And so whenever the acupuncturist did that, it sent some tension and pain up into my back and up into my ear. So that happens. That is something that absolutely does happen. People don't understand how these things work. They don't understand the mind, body, spirit connection, and they believe that we are all just some flesh puppet, whatever, that is just the whole goal is to not go to hell. That seems to be a lot of people's sort of, they're just, when you talk to them, that's sort of the underpinning thing. It just seems like that's all you're getting from them. It's just like, well, I'm a devout follower of God because I don't want to go to hell. And then everything they do is just sort of based upon that. But back to what we were saying, if you were to look at the body as a vessel for a spiritual, something or another that could inhabit it, you could be looking at something along the lines of, a possession or obsession, some sort of being that could literally obsess or possess you. There have been stories of people that I've gotten from people in the community who've actually seen like Bigfoot over other people's faces. I had a woman on the show who said that she was at a conference and this man that she was taken to at a paranormal conference materialized a Bigfoot type creature over his face, and she witnessed it. There are many people, who have seen an ethereal or spiritual type Bigfoot entity, and this is not uncommon at all. But by the same token, there are a lot of people who have witnessed and seen physical flesh and blood Bigfoot. Now, one of the things that we've done, we did some investigating in an area where we believe that there is physical Bigfoot habitation. I believe it exists. I believe it's there. But I would not put it past if we were walking through those deer trails, which we were, if Bigfoot creatures could have been like right there within just arm's length and we didn't see them. As spiritually in tune as I feel like I am, that could be an issue. There could be something to that.
Someone saw a Dogman right over top of me and said it was around 10 foot tall, maybe more, and that I didn't even realize it was right there.
Where was this at?
Not too far from that place I used to live. I take walks out on these roads a lot at night. Maybe 4.5, 5 miles from where I'm at right now, out in the country.
Wow. And so you live out in the country?
Well, I live in the middle of town, but often at that time in my life, I had a car, so I was working at a fast food joint and went to this person's house who said he kept seeing something behind his yard. And I was naive, so I went looking for it. And I was standing in his driveway when it was standing over top of me. So I guess we found it.
Wow. Yeah, I'd say so. Have you ever been out and felt it? Thought that maybe you were being stalked, or you felt something like maybe you didn't see it, if you know it was there?
Maybe a week ago.
Wow. Oh, so
there was
recently.
I'm positive this time it was a crawler. 2 of them, maybe. I know crawlers, it seems like they make a sound and you want to look in that direction, but it's typically the other way that they're trying to, they try to get you to look where they're making noise. I don't know if you've heard a lot about that.
Oh, yeah.
So I shined a light. I was carrying this box. I just went to this abandoned house and got some real good glassware. It was like dead in the middle of the forest and covered in stuff with the roof looking real bad. And there was this glassware I got. So I was carrying this box with one arm and shining my light in the other. And it was this, I could see the red of one of the eyes. I think it was like they sparkled red because they see in the dark better with those types of cones in the eye. So I just saw that kind of twinkle and I was like, oh, yep, that might be one. It was really still in the brush. It wasn't moving a lot, like it was trying to not be noticed.
Do you think that most of the time they're camouflaged, these beings, these different types of creatures?
I believe they use a technology that's built into them that it's like an advanced chameleon cloaking.
So we got another person here in the queue. There's a couple. Let's just bring on this person and see what they have to say. Stream Laggy, is that your handle? Is that what's going on? Trying to see if this person, Stream Laggy, are you there? Because you jumped on.
I am only here because the YouTube is laggy for me.
Okay, all right. So did you want to say something?
No.
Okay, so that's it. So then that person doesn't want to say anything. So we got another person here. Sean, how you doing?
Hey, Josh, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Good. We didn't get to do a Saturday, call-in show, so we're kind of doing it tonight along with just whatever. We're just doing whatever tonight. We're going to be doing this every Wednesday and probably on Mondays too.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome. I definitely wanted to drop by because you're talking about such stuff about this Dogman, and I haven't talked about this section of my experiences and stories. I know Area Trance. Nice to meet you. Finally, we've chatted in the comments.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So I have I've got quite a few. I'll start with this one. This is the last time I ever hiked alone. It's because of this experience. I went, okay, I'm not hiking alone anywhere anymore. So this was a remote kind of like trail. It's near a small town. And I drove up there. I parked there, got my vehicle. Someone else was there. They went off of a different trail. And I went on to the trail I was going on. It was a very short, like 20-minute hike. And I see a bunch of logs set up by a tree right near this trail. And it's like, well, there could have been some people doing it, but it's a very odd thing to waste your time doing. So I kind of put myself on awareness with that. But I walk, and I'm probably about, up to 20, 30 meters away from my car. Like I can still see my car. And I'm walking, I just get this strange sense to look behind me. So I turn around behind me, and probably less than 2 meters behind me was an 8-foot tall, shadowy form of what you would call a dogman. And it's standing there. Like it like freezes seeing me, right? And I can see it's a black, like foggy, like form. I can see the eyes, like you kind of see almost through them. And they just went wide, like, oh shit, he's seen me. And then he dashed to his right into a tree.
So, where did this happen at? Where did this take place?
I don't know if I want to give the exact name. It's
No, don't give exact locations, but about like where were you at? Like
near the Rocky Mountains, further north,
Oh,
so
okay.
south of Jasper. There's a small town. You go a bit west, then you're into the forest kind of foothills proper, and then it's a short little like public park. Like it's not that big, and this thing was right there. And there's you go probably about 5 minutes down the road, and there's little houses and stuff like that. So it wasn't far from civilization. And someone else had saw a Bigfoot on the opposite side of the road, down by a creek. There was a researcher out there, and he had a bunch of rocks thrown at his tent. Got out in the middle of the night, and there was a Sasquatch right there looking at him. So that place has been active.
Wow. So because I have a really good friend of mine that lives up in the Rocky Mountains, and he has been living up there for quite some time. I had a lot of interesting conversations with him over the past several years. He used to be my roommate, live with us for a long time.
Cool.
And he's actually a very interesting person. He's living up there near Leadville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know how far that is from you. He was what's funny about him, he was raised in two different religions. He's Jewish and Christian, but he was actually, his dad was Jewish, his mother was Christian, and he rejected both, as religious wise. So he's very secular, but he had never really dealt with a whole lot of anything haunting, like scary stuff.
Yeah.
So when he came to live with us, he was kind of like very just agnostic. His name's Pete. He's been on the show, but he actually is. It's a really funny guy. He's a really funny guy because he changed a lot of his views about things living with us because of his witness of a doppelganger, and then of him hearing mine and my brother's voices. Who's actually right in the next room right now. I can see you. It's right there. He's standing right there in the laundry room. But it was weird because he told us, when he first moved in, that he was not really a full-on believer. But then I worked at a place that had some activity. So when he went there with me and another friend of mine, a guy we called Bones, we went there and we showed him the shadows. Like, we were sitting in my truck and we could literally see the shadows moving around. And he was like, holy crap, I could see them. He could see shadow people like moving. And that place was extremely active, extremely. So there was something that had happened. They had found some bones there when they first started doing the build. And they put it on hold for a little while. And then eventually they just said, okay, they figured out that they couldn't say that it was native or anything like that, but that it was from the late 1800s. And so I think they were settlers. And so they just went on with whatever. But what was going on there was much more intense. And I don't believe it was coming from people who had died there. I think it was something way beyond that. The people that were working there, the Mexican nationals that were working there, were coming to me and telling me that there was El Diablo, the devil, was there. And they were seeing it, and one of them, because they have the doors that they put on. They just put doors on that are temporary, and before they put on the regular doors, whatever. And so just to keep whatever out, And one of them would draw like pictures on the doors, and one of them he drew looked like a werewolf. I'm not joking. Now, we didn't see anything like that, but I did. I used to have a photo, and I don't anymore. But I've talked about this on the show. Of what looked like two goblin-looking creatures looking in at me at my truck, and what I was taking a picture of was a green orb, just like this green ball.
Yeah, the orbs around a bunch of these things all the time,
floating out in the distance, and it was the size of a basketball. And I was like, "Holy crap!" Of course, cell phones back then sucked. I mean, this was back when I had sbcglobal.net.
Yeah,
that was my my email was it with SBC Global. So when I no longer had that service, I lost that email, whatever. But he's a very interesting guy. We went down the rabbit hole of why he doesn't believe that religion is this and that and blah, blah, blah. And we talked not too long ago about this. He's still not a religious person. He also talked, even though he is Jewish, we've talked about what we believe as there being like 6 families. Now, I've talked about this on the show before, and I'm going to say this, and I'll reiterate it, that there are families that control everything, and that there are 6 of them, and they all feed into different whatever. And like Jason Bland said on the show, that doesn't mean that Jewish, when we're talking about them as being Jewish, we're not talking about the average Jewish person.
Yeah.
So I want to make that very clear. When we talk about the Jewish power base, we're not talking about those like one particular person being, because like I said, he's one of my best friends and he is Jewish. But he was the one that really opened my eyes and taught me that, because he learned through his dad that there was a hierarchy of these families that actually do control. And another thing too, they aren't actually Jewish. They are pretending. They are not actually Jewish. So there's that. So I just wanted to clarify that, because some people will take that and say, "Oh, you're being anti-Semitic or whatever," but that's not the case. What we're talking about is a group of people who really have no birthright or blood in them at all. And of course, my enemies beat the drums that I'm anti-Semitic because of that, because I've said that before. But when I refer to those people, that's who I'm talking about. And they are a group of people that actually are a cabal, and they use that. And they've also been using a lot of like the state of Israel. They've been using it as a confrontational zone. And what's going to happen is eventually there is going to be war.
Yeah.
And it's going to be because of these pretenders, Now, in Revelations, Jesus says that we suffer under those who claim that they are Jewish and they're not. What he's saying is that there are those who claim that that's their birthright, that's their bloodline, and they really are not. And that is the truth. And I've said this before, and I'll stand by it. My enemies will say what they can. They're going to try and twist and turn, whatever it is. But there is a truth to this, what I say. And I think that there is a lot of things that should have happened. I'll go on record as saying that during World War II, I think we should have let Germany defeat Russia. And then I think we should have went in and kicked their ass. Or vice versa. When we were done kicking Germany's ass, we should have went in and kicked Russia's ass. I stand by that, because they were a communist state. And when we defeated the Nazis, the biggest mistake we made was not letting them do what they needed to do to the communists and then going in and jumping them.
Yeah.
It would have made sense, because that's what happened in Japan when they were defeating China. I stand by this. I'm a historian. I can tell you this. I know this is an amateur historian here, but I do a lot of research. Chiang Kai-shek was fighting tooth and nail against the Japanese, and he was weakened big time. And the Republicans, which is what his army, they were called the Republican.
Yeah. They
were defeated. They were being beat down, and so Mao Zedong hid up in the mountains until the war was over. Yeah, then he comes down and he does what he does, and that's
military
it.
Smart, but didn't help his countrymen too much.
Another thing too, the Jewish power base known as the Krupps. They're a German Jewish family. They claim they're of the Boyar lineage, but they claim that they are German when it suits them, but then they're Jewish when it suits them. But what they say, and I'm going to tell you this is the truth, they actually armed Hitler. which sounds crazy because people are like, they don't know, they don't understand it. But this will be a show for Rumble to explain all of this. But they actually armed him, and they armed Mussolini, and then they armed France, and they armed Britain. And you're sitting there going like, how in the hell did these people do this? Well, because they slid under the guise of, we're the ones that are being oppressed. We're actually Jewish, but they're not really Jewish. They just pretend like they are. And so they're hiding, they're sliding under that cover. And there's a lot of crazy stuff that's been hidden from us. Now, people have asked me before if I believe that the Nazis and the communists were creating super soldiers. They asked me this on the show, I believe it was last night, and I said, yes. Yeah, I do. I believe that both of them did it, and I believe they succeeded. I honestly believe that both sides of the coin are exceedingly evil. And if you read a book called Blood Red Snow, it really starts to make sense about how the black against the black. It was literally darkness against darkness. It doesn't get any darker than those two fighting tooth and nail for control of the country of Europe.
Yeah.
And so when you read these things, you're sitting there going like, man, it's hard to tell who's good and who's bad. When it came to the Eastern Front, it was just murder on a massive scale. It was homicidal, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, and so you look at what was going on. It's hard to tell, to make heads or tails, but I believe that with the fighting, in particular in the East, that you have what could have been bioengineered weaponry that was used, or maybe in its infancy at that time. But I also think this, and this is probably going to sound crazy, there is another cabal at play. And of course, James here and I have talked about it on the show, the Vril. They played their gambit in that war too. And so you had alien technology that was being thrown around, which is how I think the Germans got the Messerschmitt. And I believe that both sides of the coin were actually, they were using an alien technology that basically borderlines demonic, and I think, but I hate to say it, but I love the British, but I think the British were involved in it too, because Crowley was doing magic big time. And
John Dee too?
Oh yeah.
Edward Kelly.
And Parsons, Jack Parsons, and of course the guy that created Ology. I'm not going to say the name of it because I'll be sued into oblivion. So I'm going to stay away from that. But that's another thing, and so what you end up with is these people who go around claiming that they are this and they're that. They're really not. That's not who they are. That's not what they are. They're just using that mantle so that they can play a victimhood, which is really not correct, because that's not who they are. And that happens quite a bit. Just like there were people that were claiming, at one point, that nothing happened with the Armenian genocide. There were a lot of people that were saying, oh, this is what happened. The Armenians did not, and nothing ever happened to them, blah, blah, blah. But it was also people that were exaggerating. And this isn't an attack on Armenians. I have a lot of Armenian friends, but they were using that to gain a piece of land so that they could say, this is our country. Same thing with the Kurdish. Not that it didn't happen. It did happen. And the Holodomor is another situation where millions and millions of Ukrainians were starved and killed by the Russians. Now, that's not the same as what's going on now.
Yeah.
What's really mind-boggling about that, and I'll say this, is that Zelensky, who is Jewish, is now in charge of Ukraine. But if you go back and you look at the people that were supporting this war in Ukraine, some of them, I'd hazard to guess quite a few of them were neo-Nazis.
That's true.
And I'm not even joking. And they're being led by Zelensky. By the same token, you have Netanyahu's own son, who was operating and kept going a neo-Nazi website.
Wow.
So you're sitting there going like, what the F is going on here? Like these people. So I'm telling you, there's all this pretending going on that people don't understand. And when you tell people the truth, they lose their freaking mind because they don't listen to what you're trying to tell them. And when you're trying to explain something to them, they want to jump to conclusions, and then they want to start screaming and yelling that you're this or you're that. And if you were to chastise somebody about Christianity, they're like, he's attacking Christians. No, I'm saying there's a certain type of Christianity that goes too far. Just as I believe there's a type of Islam that goes too far. A lot of Jewish people are just normal Jewish people. One of my best friends, like I said, he's probably in my top 3 best friends in the world. He's Jewish, but he's the one that taught me about their power base and about how they're really not what they say they are, and not all of them. And I'm not attacking the Jewish people. I want to be completely straight up about that, because, like I said, anything I do or say, my attackers and detractors will come at me any way they can. And I just hope that people will listen and understand and hear my words and not take it, because at this point I'm worshiping aliens and I'm hanging out in homosexual bars. Now, if you're that way, you're that way. That's fine. I'm not attacking that, but that's not who I am.
Yeah.
And my detractors will do and say anything at this point, even going so far as to make a fake video that they said was me. And that was not me. And someone came forward and said, no, it was me. I did this. And even then they were still trying to say it was me. So this is where we're at. When you tell the truth and you try to get to the root of any issue, you're being thrown these NPCs that try to block it. They try to stop it. They try to keep you.
I completely agree, Josh. I think that's exactly what's going on with you, because I've not seen anyone in this field being attacked like you, as you've said before on your show. That's the only real conclusion you can reach. It's unnatural how much you and your family have been targeted on this. It's unnatural. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's something to it, and they're declaring it, to themselves. We've seen screenshots of them saying this is a holy war and there's a call to arms to take me down.
Yeah.
And they've thrown everything that I could possibly do or say. They've tried to take it out there. The next step, I guess, at this point, there's nothing else they can do but just fake things, because that's what that video was attempt, I guess, at them trying to fake it, saying that I did that and accusing me of being this other person that I'm not. It's just par for the course, because when I say the things I say, not everybody's going to agree with it. You don't have to agree with my opinions or my beliefs. I think there are some really rotten people in this world who are pretending to be something that they're not. Whether they're pretending to not be satanic or they're pretending to be, certain people, I'm going to call them out on it. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. I've always done that. And one day it may come down to where I just can't take it anymore and I break and just leave the field, because that's what they want. But at this point in time, I have no plans to let these people eat my lunch, because they're not smart. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to be mean, but if you put them all together and added up their IQ, it wouldn't equal half of mine. So I don't feel any real threat other than some people will believe the lies of sociopaths and their schemes. Other people will be awake and they'll see the truth. And those are people that are enlightened. And that's just the truth. And I thank people for the donations. Once again, I'm asking that people don't donate, because I'm trying to prove to these people that I don't do this for the money. Nor do I do it because I want to fleece people or whatever they're saying that's going on. I'm not in need of it. Well, everybody needs money, of course, whatever, but that's not why we do this. And we're trying to show people, look, we're not the ones that need it. They are. They're the ones that have made this their livelihood. Some of them even against my own advice. I told them that it's not a money-making thing. You can't depend on people's donations. It's a very short-term thing. And if you're doing this, you should really get into it and do it because it's something that you're passionate about, not something that you're doing because it's something that you feel is going to make you famous or get you money, because that's not correct. Here's a good comment here. Michelle Moore. Now, Hitler was Baron Rothschild's illegitimate son. There is a lot of speculation on that, because what went on during the trials of Adolf Eichmann was very telling, where these people were, interrogating him, and he was saying, "I did this for y'all." It's very weird. He said he was a Zionist. He's like, "I'm working for you. You already know. You're arresting me. This is a big show, and I'm being the sacrificial lamb here because you know that we were all in this together." So a lot of people believe that there was a conspiracy between these pretender Jewish people and the Nazis to do this and to dominate the planet. Now, those are theories that are very dangerous to espouse because people can misconstrue them and come at you a million different ways. But me here at PRT, what the hell do I got to lose at this point? Everybody's on my ass anyway. You might as well just tell it like it is. I know they're going to say and do whatever they're going to say and do, and I'm going to come at them with the truth. I'm going to continue to come at them with the truth. I feel like I'm fighting to defend our right to even say the truth. And somebody here says it was all about money and what do you get for having money, influential power? Exactly. It says here, why do you think the Rothschilds funded Hitler? Just saying. Well, and that was the thing too. When he first went to them, the Krupps, actually a very powerful German Jewish family, they funded him to start this war. And I'll say this too. The same people that helped fund him also put a lot of money into CERN and the creation of CERN in Switzerland. And so one of the things I believe these super soldier programs were a success. And I think that they brought it to the United States. And I'm going to say something that may sound completely wacko, but what have I got to lose at this point? Like I said, I'm playing with house money anyway. A lot of these Nazi scientists, and I believe later on after Perestroika, I believe that some of the Russian scientists even took part in this after Cold War ended. I think that there was a very good relationship between not Boris Yeltsin, Gorbachev and Reagan. And I think that the Reagan administration actually bankrupted the Russians and then they paid them off. I'm going to say this. And I think that they said, look, bring us what you got and we'll work together. We let you keep your pride and everything else. But financially, they were in dire straits. And so Gorbachev was a smart man. He knew that this was the way of the future. There was no future in nuking each other. And so he had a very cordial relationship with Reagan. And I think that they worked together. And I think some of these dumbs, you know what dumbs are, right? These are underground bunkers, basically military. Yeah. So when you look at these dumbs that are underneath all these different cave systems, I would say that they were Nazi and collaborative, communists, former Nazi. Not at the time they weren't Nazi or communist, but that the former, working with our scientists, including a cabal of Chinese and Japanese scientists. And I think that they were coming up with some crazy shit. I'm not joking, man. It sounds absolutely bonkers, but that's the truth. And I think that the Krupps were very involved in it, along with the Oppenheimers and the six families that I've said this before. And I think that these deep underground bunkers or bases, whatever you want to call them, I think that they hold a lot of the answers to a lot of this stuff because they were close. They were underground where a lot of this stuff is. And I think that they worked very closely with underground civilizations, including the Vril. The Vril are just one type of civilization that exists below our feet.
And who are the Vril exactly? Are they what race?
James, you can answer that. You know about them.
Well, they're really an inner Earth race, likely extraterrestrial at first. I actually like using the term extra celestial, given the implications to that one. But I do believe they came from different interplanetary systems and intergalactic routes.
Yeah, I think that what we're going to see too coming out over the next decade or so is the truth. You have some very interesting things happening in the Euphrates. Yeah. There was a report not too long ago in an Egyptian paper in Cairo that said that there were 100,000 sorcerers that had met in the Levant from around the world. And they met at the Euphrates River in areas where it had dried up to conjure up demons, or as the Arabs would say, jinn, and bring about the new world order. And to fulfill prophecy. These people are speeding up prophecy. I think there are two camps, one that's encouraging Israel and the other that's encouraging the opposition, which would be the Arab Muslims, to fight. And they want this to happen because that will bring about Bible prophecy. And some of these people really believe that when they bring God to the table, that they're going to defeat him. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
Madness.
But they do believe this. They really do believe this. Now, think about this. And this is, like I said, probably a show for Rumble, but how many of these sick people do you think actually from Hollywood and all these other elites, they're doing this stuff? I'm not going to mention names, but some very powerfully influential record producers, movie producers, actors, and a lot of singers and songwriters, and they're doing all of this satanic bullshit. And why do you think they do it? Because it's a sucker's deal. You're not going to, but they honestly don't believe. They think that they're going to win. They think that, they have this mentality like, the dark side is the way to be. And there's a way for them to actually win this. There's going to be a war with God, and that they can do this. And now if you look at this guy, the late Abe Finkelstein, he was one who came out openly and said that they are doing these things. And he was very frank about it. So when you stop and you listen to what this man was saying on the internet before he died, he was saying some things that would just blow your mind. I'd have to go to Rumble to talk about all the things that he was saying. But yeah, it's very mind-blowing and very mind-numbing.
Well,
And don't be that,
sorry, they're in a state of what I would call spiritual death, almost. Especially when you talk about some of these cults, and they have no love, they have no compassion, they have no God in them. They're just selfish, nihilistic, narcissistic, hate, evil. There's nothing there. There's nothing. And God is everything good. So when you're stuck in that state, they can't have the ability to comprehend the truth, God, everything right, love, compassion, and then through that change.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. Like, we'll have to talk in person about the stories and the visions I've had in my past, but like, this is a state, and when you're in a state, sometimes only God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, the Holy Trinity, can only pull you out of that state because you're so gone into it, you can't save yourself.
I would say I actually believe quite the inverse.
Oh?
I would say that I believe that God is both positive and negative, has the potential of being very seemingly evil. Just as much as love.
Well, depending upon if you're talking about Yaldabaoth as being God, the God of the Old
I
Testament.
would say he's part of God.
Well, let's put it this way. It says in the Old Testament that he created good and evil, light and dark. But Jesus talks about a very different God.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah, I believe it's an all-encompassing force, but that's also why I believe.
And James, you probably would agree with this statement. You can't have one without the other. I mean, you would not understand or know what light is without darkness. And I believe that's why we are allowed to go through the things we go through, because eventually it leads us to the light. And I do believe we have been, messed with and screwed over. And there are people who absolutely will support a nefarious and murderous regime just because they feel like they're on the same team. Me personally, I don't care who it is. I'm not going to fall for that. And I'm not going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I agree with you. Just because we're both Christians, I think that you should be able to slander and hurt and maim and kill. That's not correct. I've never believed like that. And I've seen it happen from many different types of religions and many different types of whatever. So when you go back and you start to see the patterns, the very patternistic ways that people do the things that they do, then it starts to make sense. You're like, okay, you're programmed this way from birth. And so Jesus comes along and he tells you, hey, you're not doing it correctly. You need to do it this way. And then everybody's resistant to that. Paul on the road to Damascus, his name was Saul.
Yeah.
He had murdered a lot of Christians, and Jesus told him, why do you persecute us? Why do you hate us? Why are you doing these awful things? And that speaks also to the forgiveness and love that Christ showed to Saul, because by all rights, he should have been completely angry and just went after him. Now, according to the laws of the Old Testament, of the Jewish law and their belief in God, God would have smote him and been angry and been volatile and jealous and raged. But Christ didn't do that. Christ came to him and said, why do you do this? Because it would only make sense if he were to say, hey, put his hand out and say, let's not be enemies and go and preach my word. And so he did. And that changed everything. So that road to Damascus, I had a man recently reached out to me this happened just recently, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to out him because he's doing the best he can. He headed over to my channel after talking to these other reprobates, and he was going to attack me. Well, he didn't, because at the time I had just mentioned, I was in prayer. And at that moment in time, while I was in prayer, is when he showed up, and this is what he said. And eventually I will be able to come out and say this guy's name, but not right now. And he said that that moment he stopped. It's like he put his sword down and he had a road to Damascus moment. Thank God in heaven that this man didn't come and start trouble with me in my chat like he was going to. He was going to be confrontational and say things and attack me, but he didn't. And the reason he didn't was because when he came, it was a moment of prayer. And so that God spared me from that man's misdeeds. And the man came to me and said, look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I persecuted you. I was one of the people that said this. I said that, blah, blah, blah. I told him, I said, your apology is accepted. I mean, I forgive you. I don't care what you said about me. Just go and don't do it anymore. And since then, we've talked quite a bit. We've become more friends, and like I said, a lot of people probably wouldn't know if I even hinted around, so I'm not going to. But that's a case in point. That's a road to Damascus moment where I could have been like, you little this and you little that. You were going to do this, and you said what? You said this, you said that, and I didn't do that. Because that doesn't benefit you. And I've said this before, holding grudges doesn't benefit anyone. If the people that have come against me right now, right this minute, just put down their swords and said, we're not going to fight you, you leave us alone, we leave you alone, I would abandon everything. I would just turn my back and go away from them and never speak their names again or ever have any dealings or doings with them. But that's not the case. When you are that wound up and your whole world is that revolved around someone hating someone, there is no other excuse other than it's a demonic influence. Now, I'm not going to sit up here. Let's be realistic. I'm not going to say everybody that's against me is a demon-possessed person. I'm not going to say that they're all, but the main culprits, yeah, they have to have being influenced in some sort of way or another. Otherwise, they would do what I asked and said, hey, let's walk away from this. So that is the crux of it. So, and someone says hate is demonic. Hate is demonic, and it leaves you in that state. Now, getting back to these beings, speaking of hate, I've been asked before why, when someone sees a Dogman, and even sometimes with Bigfoot, that they feel this hatred that emanates from these beings. And they ask me, why do you think that is? I don't know. I'm not going to sit up here and say that I think they're evil incarnate, because I don't really know the true nature of these things. But I would hazard to guess that if they are of a Nephilim bloodline, they are going to have an overwhelming hatred for humankind. And I'll give a story here in a minute that explains what I'm talking about. But first, I want to ask James and Sean what your opinions are on what I just said about the hatred that comes from these beings.
Personally, I don't sense it whenever I've seen one. I'll sense a negative energy field, but to me that feels like it's just a level of being. In fact, I would say it's a comforting energy.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so you would think that it's actually comforting energy that they would come out hating way?
The energetic being, not a predatorial. I mean, the energetic toroidal energy of it being negatively aligned. That to me is very comforting, but that's different from their predatorial mode, their modality of hunting. When I can sense that, it's a completely different thing.
And you, Sean?
Well, I've heard a lot of stories, especially up here in Canada, of situations where someone's about to get attacked by a grizzly bear. They literally impose themselves between a grizzly bear and save someone's life. So I've heard those stories. And I've also heard your stories about them doing horrible things, like that one that tried to take that girl's soul. I've only had probably about the one time I saw Sasquatch out in the open. To his face, looking at his face, I sensed a sense of humanity and just incredible curiosity with me because that was just a very strange situation. He was not expecting me to be able to sense him in my car, but I didn't feel threatened by him. But I've been another time to this area, and this area I've been to several times with my friend, and there's one side area we've gone to, and this is actually where I had photos of these dogmen, right in the trees and stuff like that. Like they I don't know, this is like a portal area or something. It's strange. It's right beside a public camping spot. But one time I went, and I actually, this is back when I was animist, and I left an offering to them, right? Because it was like extreme cold that week, and so we went up there just to see the sights a bit, and then I left a little offering there, just like a blanket and a few foods, and we walked back, and we're probably about 40 meters away from where we were in the forest. This is a whole story I'd have to talk about because there's a lot of strangeness, like going up footprints, and then all of a sudden they turned into fox prints, and there was no fox prints in the tracks before, which is really weird. Really weird. But we're coming back, and also we have this howl. It was like this yipping against back and forth at each other, like they're yelling at each other almost, like communicating whatever language. But then again, howling. It's like a mixture of human and wolf, and it's kind of like almost like a calling, sorrowful howl. And if I recorded it, it shook my bones, like absolute terror. And I did everything to kind of again walking away from the spot, right? And then also two more to the side of us again howling, and you can't see anything in the forest. And they're howling at us, and like so there's three of them doing it now to us, and I'm shrieking in on myself in absolute fear, right? Like primordial fear is taking over me. I'm trying to fight off the fear, and we sat at home and just listened to it, just blown away, going, "This is not a wolf, right? This is way too powerful." And eventually, fear overtook me. I just began booking it, and it continued it all the way up. I ran up to the edge of the road. I threw myself over a snowdrift. I was an idiot, and I parked my vehicle further down the road than I should have. Then my friend, who's finally running up behind me, finally comes up to me. We grab onto each other. We're in full panic mode, and we hitchhike, which I never would do. But I was so filled with fear at that moment. Hitchhike to the vehicle, get down to our vehicle, get in. We drive by the area. It's dead silent in this valley. You can hear a pin drop, nothing, and then we leave. But then we've had other times where we've had sightings scenes, and nothing's happened. Sometimes the crack a branch, and you can't see anything there, but they're around us, letting us know they're there. So I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted on them. I think maybe it's like humanity. There's some good ones, there's some bad ones, but I've not had the energy attack of like absolute hatred and fear that some people have. But again, I'm probably a unique case in that regard. But I don't know. I think there's some good ones. I think there's some very bad ones, and I think it's really just your luck or unfortunate luck with what you encounter.
You think that some of them are good?
I would say the Sasquatch reports, some of the stuff I've heard, if they're true, they have saved people's lives for nothing in return. So they've shown some form of humanity, right? Or love, at least, compassion. I've only heard of one Dogman case of where they actually helped someone.
Yeah.
For myself, I've had them come by my house, and they didn't directly terrify me, but they moved like my metal chair in the back of our deck. The one that tapped in the window, I think that was a werewolf. I don't think that was a Dogman. If there's a difference between these two, then that definitely was someone with a demon on them. But I don't know. I'm mixed. Like I've had mind speak. The very first time I went to the spot, I had mind speak, and they said, very adult male voice, "Come and see." And I was just blown away because I didn't expect that's possible. So I was in disbelief, and they could have killed us anytime they wanted to there, but they didn't. So I'm conflicted. I really am. I definitely wouldn't. I don't go seeking them anymore. I don't do that, but I've been around them quite a bit, out especially in the mountains in Alberta here. And so it's like, I don't know. I'm really conflicted with them.
Sorry about that. Truff
Hey,
is.
no worries.
My hold on one second. I want to see.
What do you think, Elliot Trance?
Well, I've had the mind speak happen at a very young age. There was one time there's a abandoned house not far from that A-frame I used to live in, and I'd gone back there maybe 2 years ago because I still wanted to search the place even after this. But anyways, when I was young, this was when I was way younger, I think maybe middle school, me and a couple people went in there, and there was a I believe it was a crawler due to what happened later.
No.
There was some entity in there that said,
Ran
it was a
from-
deep voice, very masculine, "Get out or I will kill you" type of thing. And that's hard to mimic because it was very monotone. Very just do this or I will come out and destroy you. So we were like, let's just leave. So we got out of there.
Wise.
Later on in my teens, I would, I was early teen at that point. Later on, some of my friends would be walking down the road at night and they'd see this pale entity with long hair, like long flowing, silky black hair came out of the, like a crawler, but it had just had this weird feminine long hair, and they said it was like a female crawler that was just chasing them.
Somebody says, "Do I feed Truffles bananas?" I do. I do. I feed him. She loves cherry tomatoes. Something really weird just happened right now while we were talking about all this. He squealed and then he ran that direction, that way. And I got up to look, and there was nobody or nothing, not one of the animals, anything over there in the direction he was fleeing from. So that was really weird. He doesn't just squeal for no reason. Like something, he was running like something was messing with him right after him.
Well, I know, Josh, after my first discussion with you, I did have a weird event that night. I was bed trying to sleep, and then I had my door, which was closed solid, creak right open against the wall, like fully open. And I did feel a presence into the room. I rebuked it in Christ. It kind of faded away. And then it came back probably within like a minute and had to rebuke it twice.
Wow.
So, I don't know if that's stuff from your side or other stuff. I think some of the stuff listens online to this.
Oh, yeah. I think whenever you guys come on and tell a story about something that that happened to you, I can't tell you how many times when we filmed the show These Woods Are Haunted, it happened a couple times during the pre-interview, and then during the actual show that we were filming. It happened. We heard the knocking. There was 3 knocks. It was loud, and Scorpion was there with me along with Anthony, and it was just a weird thing. It was very weird, and I've always wondered why that knocking. Now that is actually 4 times now that I've told that story, where there have been 3 loud bangs, and so I do think that there's something that attaches itself to some of this. And when you talk about it, there's a thing where you can say maybe you're talking it up or whatever, but that's why I believe in staying prayed up and staying in Christ and doing what you got to do. Contrary to what my detractors say, I am not an apostate or a heretic, at least in my mind. I'm just a person that's looking for the truth, and I want to know that I'm worshiping the true God, which is the Father of Christ. And so I do feel very protected. I feel secure. I feel safe. But I also believe that when it's time to go and God calls you home, that's just what it is, man. You don't have to
Like
read
that other episode you talked about where the guy from the cult said, that sometimes people are called to go and they can go and take them out. Like that priest.
Yeah, and it's just time to go, And when old Shuck takes somebody, it doesn't necessarily mean that person is bad or evil. It just means that God's letting it happen. He's calling you home because you're going on to a better life. Believe me, with all that's going on in my life right now, there are times when I'm not suicidal at all, but I just feel like laying down and letting God take me because I'm sick and tired of it. But I know that it is my cross to bear. It is something you've got to endure because you wouldn't be enduring it if it wasn't God's will.
Yeah.
And so I just look at it like that. Some of the things that people say and do are absolutely nuts. It's just, it borders on, it's just a neurotic sort of sickness. But you're having to endure it for whatever reason. And so you can't run from it. You have to face it. And I'm facing a lot of hardships right now. Like I said, I'm in the middle of packing, and I am going through absolute hell on earth, but it's not anything compared to what my Lord and Savior went through. So I'll get through it. It is hard on a daily basis to go through when you're constantly dealing with it, And then people want you to not say anything, which is really hard because they want you to pretend like it's not happening. But it is happening. And you know, I have had to learn to just kind of endure what I believe is unfair, but it's really not up to me. It doesn't really matter what I believe or what I want. What you want is not what is. It's just your feelings. And so you have to put feelings aside and do what you know what is right for the community, for everybody as a whole. If I thought it was in everyone's best interest, I would just step down and walk away. But I don't believe that. I don't believe it's in everybody's best interest. I think that that's wrong. So Shane, we have Shane here. Shane, what's going on, man?
Hey man, I sent you an email with some Bigfoot pics. I have 325 acres out in Aransas Pass, and
Wow.
and so I have a game cam attached to my windmill. And this was about 2 years ago. I sent it to your email, Josh, so you could check it. It's from Anonymous. And my name is Shane, but it's the strangest thing. I had South Texas Sasquatch researchers come out and all that stuff. They did their investigations, and I got the footprint as well. I measured it with my hand. Obviously, I was told not to use my hand, using a different object or something. But long story short, there's a picture of a squatch right there, and 325 acres, and then we're next to the Gator Refuge. And then when Hurricane Harvey hit, it destroyed my windmill, and I've had to fix it ever since. And I had that game cam right there on the sucker rod protector tube, facing the water trough. If the water gets low, I have to either haul water in, or my neighbor has to help me, or whatever it may be. But then my wife looked at the game cam, and she was like, "What the blank is this?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't have any orangutans. I don't have nothing out there." And you're in Aransas Pass. You're in Aransas Pass, and you know I'm about 9 miles from Port A.
Yeah,
2
I
miles.
love Port A.
Yeah, so I'm about 2.5 miles from the McCampbell Airport and 5 miles from town. So this sucker my neighbor has like 500 acres. The other neighbor has like 1,500 acres. I have 325. And when South Texas researchers came out, they said, "Hey man, you got good habitat. I got a bunch of mesquite trees. It's pretty thick in some areas and some brush." And it was about the time that the neighbor, she was getting the fence line cleared out with the mulcher bobcat. And I think that's what probably spooked him out to get water. And it was hot that day. It was about, if you look at the game cam pic, it's probably about almost 100 something degrees out there. And I'm telling you, man, and then at night when me and my wife are out there, you hear the coyotes, and then all of a sudden everything just goes quiet. And it's everything in your arms and legs, your hair sticks up. And I'm telling you, man, it's real. And I mean,
How would you feel about bringing us out there to do an investigation?
oh, that'd be awesome, dude. Like, y'all, that'd be pretty awesome. I mean, I got another spooky thing. I have another 110 acres in Cameron, Texas.
Oh yeah, I
And
used to live in Rockville. Mm-hmm.
okay, so yeah,
I went to school in Cameron too.
I got 110 acres and I got 4 ponds. And in the back pond, I call it the Michael Myers pond. My wife even saw it. It was something about 6 or 7 feet tall with red, beady ass eyes. And long story short, my wife and I was on a tractor. I told my wife, I said, "Get your ass in a bucket. We're out of here."
Yeah, I would too. I'm going to tell you this. You know, there's Media Palace. He says, "Not far from Wild Man of the Navidad Stories." Exactly. I was going to get into that. Eric just kind of beat me to it. I was going to say Apache Pass is not far from Cameron. And now if you go Cameron, you go west. There are 2 particular stories I have not told. One, it would blow your mind. It's a Bigfoot story, and this is a friend of mine that I've known for years. His name is Jake. He was driving through those back, and then I got to say, I've known this guy forever. Jake is a horrible driver. I'm gonna say it. I had a truck with him one time, and we were like in early 20s. I never let him drive me again because he looked at me like he was driving, and I'm like, yeah, the road. You're just kind of like sitting there waiting to die. No offense, Jake. He's probably not watching the show. We might watch it later. He watches sometimes.
It's like my sister-in-law. How do you rear end 3 people, total out 3 vehicles in less than 365 days, and then Another
Wow.
another 3 months, rear-end somebody else, and the guy's a cop. He's like, "Oh, I'm hurt." It's like, "Oh shit." So yeah, I don't know how people can get a license, man. When three vehicles get totaled out in less than a year, like, girl, get off your damn phone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this was back when we didn't even have cell phones when he was, but them back roads out there between Taylor, Rockdale, Cameron, all that area, them back county roads, man, those boys fly out there. I'm talking, they'll get in their dually, and I know all them country boys out there, all of them. They're all friends of mine, the guys and gals of that area, very, very country, rural people. And I know a lot of people from that San Gabriel area.
We had a friend of ours pass away. He was like the biggest hay man around in Cameron. I don't know. A lot of y'all probably know him, old Mr. Ralph McAnulty. And he wanted to work to the day he died, but that man, he was doing hay.
They all did. Texans, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, us Texans. I'm still trying to find somebody just to come and rake and bale mine. I'll cut the damn 6 or 7 acres.
The baling is the hardest part, Shane. Nobody want to do that.
Man. I got 3 balers, and I got them all off the auction, and they're all shit. So it's like don't get shit off the auction, guys.
Yeah.
One man's trash is not
that goes for anything off of auction. You got to be real careful what you're going to get.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that area though. I mean, there are tons and tons of stories. Like I said, my friend Jake was driving through there. It was he was going from Granger through that San Gabriel Pass area and up in the Apache Pass out behind Thorndale, and he was headed to Cameron.
Yeah.
And when he was headed through that area, he literally saw something horrific. I'm not gonna get into it today, but I will tell that story. In fact, you know what? I might just use that one for Tuesday. Just some really rough Bigfoot stories. He saw something that it was rough, and he was driving so fast that he couldn't slow down, and so let's just leave it right there. But it was right outside of Cameron. I would say, that there's a county road that goes between Rockdale and Cameron, the back road.
2095, County Road 2095. It leads all the way down to
exactly. And there's like a I forgot. There's like a curve right there, right when you pass that juvenile facility. There's like a curve right there. Okay, so he had another encounter right there when he was leaving a friend's, and he was coming out of there. And if you're familiar with Cameron in the Yeoman, that's what they're called, the Yeoman. It's a small town. There's not a lot there. There's a Dairy Queen. Okay.
Well, they got 44 farms, and I'm neighbors with them too, just by a couple hundred acres away. But still, we got 44 farms, and they got that $5 million bull that's producing the semen straws for Walmart's beef.
Yeah, dude, and I'm telling you that area, you got some good area, good land, because that Aransas Pass. People think when they hear Aransas or Port Aransas, they think of just the beach.
Yeah.
They don't realize that there's a lot of good land around there. Now you got to be careful, because when hurricane season comes, you never know what's going to be thrown at you down there.
Oh, Harvey was a bad one. I mean, I got a tiny
2017, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was 2017, and then we had this last one. We just got a little bit of drizzle off of that thing. Corpus.
Yeah, it didn't do much, man. Everybody was like, saying that Beryl was going to be this big deal, and it just turned out it wasn't. So where do you hail from? Are you from that area? Are you from Cameron, or where are you from?
I'm really from Fort Worth. There's another spooky place in Fort Worth. It's
there's a lot of them near the Trinity. Yeah.
Old Las Vegas Trail. There's if you go down there, and there's a waterway. You just follow that old Las Vegas Trail all the way down.
Is this the Black Cat?
It's on the left-hand side. It's like a castle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a tall fence, and then they used to have a tiger in there. Well, when you pull into there, when you come down to that river, like right there, your whole radio like fritzed out on me. It like went crazy, and my wife was like, "What the fuck is this?" I was like, "I don't know." And it was just static, and the water was overcast with fog. And it was just kind of a spooky little area. And I mean, if y'all live around Fort Worth, go down the old Las Vegas Trail, and you'll see that castle there on the left-hand side. It's pretty crazy. I don't know if that tiger's still there or what, but
well, there's lots of tigers in Texas.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you're from the Fort Worth area, huh? Near the Trinity.
The DFW where the ghetto bird flies around 24/7. The police chopper.
Well, they had to. I know what you're talking about. My one of my friends is a retired police officer from there. He retired years ago, but I can tell you this: Texas, it's a big undertaking, and a lot of people have written books about haunted Texas, this part of Texas. Anybody who writes about Texas has to literally just take a piece of it and say, I'm just going to write about this area. My dream at some point before I die is to eventually just write about, just write a book about each part of Texas and just put a bunch of stories in it. Just some of my favorites, some of my favorites that I've collected over the years, my favorite Texas stories. One of the weirdest areas in Texas.
With this thing.
Do what?
Doing some tests with my broadcast software. Don't mind
One
me.
of my favorite areas of Texas is right outside of Houston. When you go to that 290 corridor right there, man, there's a lot of weird stuff out there. Going out behind Chapel Hill and Brenham in that area, a lot of reports. And Giddings too. Like I get these reports of these weird hybrid. I call them hybrid, like
Gonzalez.
type creatures. Oh, Gonzalez too. There's another one. My friend Leighton owns land out in Gonzalez. He's the one that sold my wife's vehicle to us. But dude, he's got a lot of weird stuff out there. So what happened? Did you hear about Gonzalez?
Oh, I pass through Gonzalez all the time, and the general's gravesite burial and stuff like that. If you stop there at night, you sometimes see stuff, and it's just like I mean, you stop there just to kind of pay respects, because I'm a disabled Marine as well. So you go and you pay your respects to some of your fallen, some of the people you don't know, and stuff like that. So, I mean, I just look at it like this, I go there, but then when you hear that stuff and you faintly hear like gunshots and stuff like that, and it still freaks you the shit up when you have PTSD and stuff like that, and you think that someone's firing.
I just gave you the chills, man.
I'm telling you. And then they got a place right across the street from it. They have an excavator with a little steel bar separator, and they're digging for artifacts like shells, old guns around there still. And it's right in front of the old the old fort that's right there in Gonzalez.
Yeah. And Bernard Fox just mentioned Goliad. When you said the gunshots, I have a friend of mine. In fact, it's one of my cousins by marriage, but he went out there one time on his way to Port A. Close to where you live. And my first cousin Sean actually lives in Aransas Pass too. I have a good friend, and one of my friends has a club, a bar, Treasure Island. He owns it. It's down there in Port Aransas. And my other friend, who's a former
the guy with the shells too, right there in Aransas. He sells all those shells. I don't know. Y'all can look him up on YouTube. Crazy shell man Aransas Pass.
Really?
Funny. Yeah, he's funny as all get out. He's like a high hippie guy.
The thing in Goliad, like my cousins, like I said, my cousin by marriage, they were there visiting Goliad, and so they were leaving, and so they went to the mission area, and it was getting dark, and so this is crazy.
I met Goliad. I'm sorry. Yeah, the old fort. I'm sorry, not Gonzalez.
Yeah. Well, Gonzalez, there was a battle there, too, a skirmish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the come and take it, whatever. But that was the big battle cry, whatever. But whenever they went to the mission over there at Goliad, they heard what you're talking about, because you can still drive through there, but it's closed up, right? So they wanted to just look. They couldn't go inside of it, which I've been inside of it, and it's really cool because it dates back to like the 1600s. It's crazy, right? Nice. So you're walking around through there. And they got out and kind of walked around. He stretched, and he's like, he had to nature calls, right? And then all of a sudden they hear yelling, screaming, hooping, hollering, and then they heard like gunshots. He goes, but he told me, he's like, Wolf, this happened in 2010, but he said this was not gunshots like a 9mm, like bang, 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 nothing like that. It was like
old style,
muskets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because so when you said that, it kind of gave me the chills because I remember him saying that one night. And that story he told me was like way back in 2010. And he owns a bar up here in Central Texas. And we were there late one night and he was telling me that. And it had just happened like a couple weeks before. And he was still kind of unnerved by it. He goes, man, we heard the battle taking place or what could have been the execution of the Texans because they were, when they gave up the fort, they were lined up and they were shot and killed.
Yeah.
The place is extremely haunted. Now, I have been in talks with them about trying to get my ass down there. Once I get moved out of this place and I get, I'm planning on doing a lot of boots on the ground type stuff. And I don't mean walking around the woods and going, oh, is that a spooky sound? You know what I mean? I'm talking about going to some places and getting, like where you're at and just doing some investigating and seeing what we can find because I know that the missions down there, when I talked to them about it, they were open to it, about letting us come there maybe at night and the curator like letting us walk around and just video some stuff because it would be publicity for them. And I explained it to them. I said, you would have publicity. It would be an even exchange. You guys could let us say, hey, is this place haunted? Everybody says it is. It's just like the Alamo, man, except the Alamo's in the heart of downtown San Antonio. So it is a very spooky place. And I do stop through there. Sometimes I always think about it. I like to go that back way going to Port A. But that's a really good destination for us to plan to. Give me your information before you leave, Sean. Josh Turner, PRT.
It's not let me say anything or chat in the chat box or whatever. So I actually emailed you the pictures through your email and stuff like that.
Okay.
And
Wonder why it's not letting you do that.
yeah, I'll send you. I sent it to you about an hour ago, whatever. It comes under anonymous. So it might be in your spam or something like that because.
Oh, I got it. Try here.
Yeah, 24shanehall@gmail.com. I just put my name anonymous. It's because my name's already in my damn email. It's like, come on, people.
Are these supposed to be the pictures of the thing, or?
Yes, sir. Yeah, if you look at, it's like a side face. Look at the eyes. Like it looks.
Wow, what is that, dude? That is freaky, dude.
And
that
sounds
is weird, dude.
And like I told you, my hands placement. The guy was like, "Man, you should have took a picture," because he came out.
Oh,
See,
wow.
Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Now, and that looks, because there are a lot of reports of these creatures in South Texas in particular. I'm trying to think of where it was at. Not Alice. It was further east. It wasn't Alice. It was going towards like in between there and South Padre, but I'm trying to remember the name of the town. Not Karnes City. It was going.
You got Pearsall, Pleasanton. You got Cuero.
And I know I know Cuero, the Gobblers. I know them. But there's more in that area because there was a report we got though. Keep naming places. I'm trying to think here.
Mathis, Texas. I hated working Mathis when I
was.
Oh,
Mathis is where the not deer were seen by what's his name? He told the story. Mark De Leon. Mark De Leon is the one that gave me the story about the not deer. And then Robstown. There's another one. But there was a town, a small town.
Some shit in Robstown. I'm trying to see if he wants to buy some land. I got 48 acres of non-flood land. I'm like, hey, come on, Elon. I got 325 acres. You want to buy it?
Yeah, we got tons of not deer stories in like central Alberta, in the prairies up to the mountains. There's one guy who did a bunch of research. I guess he saw one because he thought it was something else, like an unknown animal. Stopped, dropped his account, fled to the major city. I even tried to reach out to him. He wouldn't reply back. He encountered something that terrified him.
My bad. It's not even in South. Well, it's in South Texas, but it's Southwest. My bad. It's Bandera.
Oh, Bandera. Okay.
Yeah. Going up north. Sorry about that. North. From where you're at. Talked to Ken Gerhardt about it not too long ago. Bernard you just said another one. Foul Furious. Foul Furious. I got two. I would say one of them is a Dogman. The other one I don't know what it is. But then I had a flying humanoid encounter, which I'm starting to think now those are this like vampiric type entity
Well,
that people are seeing, because before they were just like, oh, it's a flying humanoid, but I think it's a type of vampiric entity that people are seeing.
in Quero, you got that lady that's supposedly in her freezer. She has it still stuck in her freezer. She's got that damn what the heck is that thing?
Don't tell me the chupacabra.
Yeah, the chupa,
Yeah.
the chupacabra. Yeah.
Ken went out there. Yeah, Ken went out there and did that. And yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And then there was another one down in what's it called? A friend of mine, he's a Native American, he's a Yatki. What's the name of the town? Right there on the border, across from Piedras Negras. Eagle Pass.
Okay, yeah,
Eagle Pass. Yes. Is it Piedras Negras is across from there,
Yeah,
or is it?
yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So an Eagle Pass. I was down there a few summers ago, and I went then I went down to Acuna, which was the last time I crossed over the border, because of I like having my head attached to my body. But it was Acuna, and then what's it called? Del Rio, the lake right there, dude. Because there were several sightings. Now I'm going to tell you, this is odd because you see the red fur with that dark whatever that is on the face that you got there. That's very interesting because the one that people were talking about that I got that was in that
I mean, look at that. Look at the forehead. Look at the forehead. Really.
Yeah, I see it.
It's human like. It's like porous sun-beat baked skin up there.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
That's a really good photo.
When you look at the one that was in Bandera, right outside of Bandera, that one was very interesting because there was a person that sent me a photo. I couldn't tell for sure, but it kind of looked like it had like a pointy head because you see it kind of from the side at like a weird angle. And like I said, I don't like posting photos because then later on somebody will say, "Oh, it's fake," and then you're like a dumbass or whatever.
AI.
But that's why I also the picture with the database, the Moultrie data, my IP address, and all that stuff with that on there on the picture, so that way people can't say, "Oh, well, that's fake." Bitch, that's got the IP address and everything. It's got where it's positioned and everything. So if y'all want to call it fake, I mean, you can't make a forehead look like that, and the slick back red hair, and then that black eye, just like it looks like it's like got the 1,000-yard stare as well.
Yeah.
So how did you end up down there in Port A? If you're from
my wife, I got married, and my wife and her sister, we bought her sister out on the land out there, and then one day we were just passing by our 68 acres that we originally had out there. So we owned basically half that county road. Now we own 2 county roads, basically. I share the road with another neighbor, but once it goes down all the way, I own like all the way down, and I could be a D-hole and just block off that and keep the riffraff off and people from dumping stuff. But at night, man, it's just an eerie feeling too. But long story short, I got married to my wife, and then her mom, dad, her mom passed away a couple years ago. We got 110 acres in the Cameron that came with us. Her sister was money hungry and all that stuff, so you kind of had to do some finagling with that, and she got the house, she got everything. We just got the land. That's all we wanted.
Well, the land's assets are more important than money.
Yeah, and that's more. And like I told her, I said, if your sister, because it's in Hutto, the house is in Hutto. It's a nice house. It's
Who wants to live in Hutto?
But her after her mom passed, her sister's been going on all these luxurious vacations, going to see the world and all this other BS, and typical drama, Karen's stuff and all that. But long story short, yeah, she pulled out for the whole what is it called for when you die, the whole 3-year probate thing. She waited that out and for 2 years, whatever. And so it was just, and she was going through divorce and all that stuff, and it was like, good God. But we finally got the ranch in 110 acres. But long story short, the 68 down south, we were just driving, checking our cows, and all of a sudden I see a for sale sign on this other side, and then the farmer that usually does the cotton and sorghum rotationalized, this son of a bitch, he took the for sale sign off the thing because I called a realtor. I said, "Hey man, do you know, is the place that's across the street for sale too?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, how much is it?" "Well, we bought it, 237 acres, so we added that." So I'm fighting with the precinct 1 and 4 to either keep the road fixed because when I go down there, I go down there every weekend, sporadically, whatever, to check my cows, use the game cam, feed my cows. My neighbor helps me, stuff like that. So it's like, but yeah, I bought that 237 acres with me and my wife, and then we just kind of, you know, lease it out still. But yeah, the farmer was trying to screw us, and they put a low bid on there, and so we wound up with the family going with us because as a Marine veteran and disabled. Can't get around as much as easier. And I'm 30, I'll be 39 this year. So it's like, the military does a lot to you.
Yeah.
And so does the oil field and stuff like that. But your psychological, like make sure if you're feeling down and depressed, like reach out to people. Like
Agreed.
that's another. And I mean, if you go out in the field and just breathe fresh air, because I live in Austin too, so it's like, it sucks in here. It's like you got too many damn libs here. Sorry, but
I'm not gonna say anything, but hey, yeah, I live here too. Believe me, I know whenever it's one side or the other is just too much. It just seems like it's an unbalance, and it's definitely unbalanced here. One thing I was going to say, this could be a moment here to kind of give a little economic advice to people. When you acquire land, like the most important thing is getting a homestead. Okay.
yeah.
Now, if you acquire a homestead or a piece of property,
200 acres is safe for homestead if you have 200 acres, and they cannot take the house. They cannot take up to 200 acres. They cannot take your cattle as well. And then that you can they have to keep you with one vehicle per person. So if you
that's
like,
right. You declare no non-exempt assets. Yeah. And so here's the thing. If you start off with a piece of property, you can always use that as collateral to buy more property.
yes.
So many people fall into the trap of not understanding assets and not understanding property and property asset management. Whenever you buy a piece of property, that right there is a stepping stone. You should never just say, well, that's it. I got this piece of land. Unless that's what you want, that's fine. But if you want to do like what Shane's done, and so many people think, oh, well, this guy's rich because he got all this and this and that. Well, what you do is you get a piece of land,
Money
and then
broke and rich.
yeah, you money broke but land rich, and that's more important than money because when money is worth nothing, which is where we're headed,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, there's a global collapse. Yeltsin, what's her Janet Yeltsin, whatever her name is. She just mentioned it the other day. She kind of said it in passing, like, "Well, we're all screwed." I mean, like, yeah, I can see that. So people are going to have to figure it out because money is not worth money. Let's put it that way. Land is worth something,
Yeah, they can print money all day long, but you can't print land.
Nope. I'd rather be land rich than money rich. I can tell you that. And have assets. Assets are important. Like if you're going to get a vehicle, do it now. And I'm going to tell you why. Because over the coming months, if the mess hits the fan, that vehicle will be what a $50,000 truck will be $80,000 truck, but you're only paying this much on it, So that would be my advice. People are going to say whatever, they're going to take it or leave it, but I do invest in a lot of different things like precious metals and things like that. And I would say this: if you're going to get a pew pew, you might want to do it now.
I got a 2018 Ram 3500 Tradesman crew cab 8-foot dually at 4-wheel drive. I took it to South Point Dodge, and
you got a diesel?
Yeah, it's a dually. And I only have like 14,000 miles on it for a 2018.
Oh, wow.
And the dealership was like, "Oh, we'll give you 55." It's been banged up in the bed. I had cows in the back. I had an 18-wheeler lose his full-size tire by Waco, and then I was coming back with some calves, me and my wife, and then a tire came off his back of his truck. I chased him down, got in front of him, brake checked the shit out of him, and the cop saw me.
You're a wild man.
Oh well, he killed all the cows in my trailer.
Oh man, yeah, man, that's horrible.
My whole fender was caved in. My whole rear axle was pushed back a whole inch and a half. Had to take it to. If you have a dually or anything bigger or a bus or anything that's long framed, don't believe the big box stores that Mako and all these other ones can fix your frames and all that crap. Aguirre's in Buda, Texas. They can fix that stuff. And then also my neighbor down south in Aransas Pass, if you want to also, it's called the Salty Gull, and it's a new bar he just opened up, and he's off my county road there. So that's at Aransas Pass. When we come, if you go down there in Aransas Pass, Google the Salty Gull, and it's on County Road 4491.
I think we need to go and do some research out there in Cameron too, because I've been inundated with reports from that area in the San Gabriel area. But now you mentioned that Aransas Pass area too. That's another place. I'd love to go down there and do some research.
I got 3 travel trailers as well, man. So if you want to stay in that, one of those, and BS and that, and in Cameron, I don't know where the septic is. I just usually go take it to the RV park, dump it, keep fresh water and stuff like that. But once the tank gets filled, you got to get the doo-doo tank toter and then tote it off. But other than that, man, yeah, I got places to stay for you instead of you having to get Motel 6 in Cameron, because that place right there, dude, that's just drug place.
Yeah, believe me. I know. We played them in football years ago. I can tell you this: if you go to that San Gabriel area, there is, in my opinion, there's a lot of Bigfoot activity. I think my grandparents encountered one years ago because something was throwing boulders down off of the cliff in that San Gabriel area on the other side of Apache Pass. And I still believe to this day that that's what that was, because since then, multiple people have told me they've been through there and been chased out of there by something large and hairy. And they look weird, the ones in that area. The ones in that area, especially when you go to Thorndale, the Lexington, that's whole Texas. This is Texas talk, folks. So James and Sean, and I apologize, but we're talking Texas here. But
no worries.
That area, those creatures there, the ones that people see, at least they haven't reported any in a long time, but they used to see them. I don't know if this is true or not, but I think that they covered their faces with ash, which means that they were not afraid of fire, because somehow they were using fire to create, because that you can make fire to use ash, and so they were covering themselves in ash, and it could have been to keep the bugs and stuff off of them, but it made them look extremely scary and hideous. And I tell you right now, for my money, in that area going through Apache Pass at night, it can be really creepy out there, man. I mean, Trey Felton, he wrote that book about Spivey and his gold and all that. It is a creepy place. People see the lantern at night. They'll see it and they don't know what it is, and then it disappears.
Oh, I've heard of that on the show.
Yeah.
Also, like my wife on the game cam, sometimes you'll see, because we have it pointed there, and then sometimes you'll see the big flare at night, and that flare is not supposed to be positioned in that one camera angle too, but you pick up the other flare from the plant there in Aransas Pass, because they got the flares for the
oil rigs, right?
Yeah, so it's like my wife's like, "Is there a flame there?" I'm like, "I don't know." But long story short, like I was getting on my dually, it's a 6-speed manual. They want to buy it off me for $55 because they don't want the manual transmissions for the 2018, because they stopped in 2019 putting the manuals in the truck. And so they're trying to phase that out. And I told them, I said, "Oh no, I'm not giving it to you for $55. I can't even get a truck for under $55 nowadays.
No way.
Not even with the low miles. Like I have. If you can't get
not for a diesel, not a farm truck, you're not. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, if you can't give me something with 15,000 miles less, and then this disrespectful sales guy whips out a single cab dually. I'm like, where the hell are my 5 dogs gonna go? I got 5 Australian Shepherds. Where are they?
Would talk like that.
Where am I going to keep all the shit that I have to tote around?
Like, well, I got this other shit that ain't worth nothing. Would you buy it? You're like, no, thank you.
Be like Rick from Pawn Stars. Best I can do is
the best I could do.
I told him, I said, well, if you go ahead and you swap me over, because I mean, a manual transmission truck, it's I would trust that just to change out a clutch instead of rebuilding the whole damn automatic.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you got those stupid what 8-speed transmissions now with Dodge, and then you can't check your oil. What the world is that?
All on
But
purpose.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get off that topic, and I'll let you get with old boy up in the top corner with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. We'll be in touch. I'm gonna
Good.
message you and see if we can set something up because that picture is very compelling. I like that you caught that.
That's well done. That's really well
Yeah.
done.
Good job. All right, Shane. Shane, thank you for your service, man. We'll be in touch for sure. Once I get everything settled and I get moved in to where I'm going, I'll be getting in touch with you. Maybe we can set something up.
Well, thank y'all for
I
y'all
gotta
support.
ask something.
Yeah, you take care, man.
Oh yes, thanks.
Thank you for your service. We'll see you, Shane.
Yes, sir. Without the support with y'all guys, we wouldn't have military, and we wouldn't have the special privileges and things that we got now. So just stay humble, everybody. That's all you can do. Stay humble.
That's all we can do. All right, I'll see you.
All right, brother.
So that
I
was
was
Shane.
wondering, you all ever run into hunted cursed objects that are pretty neat in appearance or anything? Let me know. I'd like to get my hands on some.
Well, if I can ever find that key, I'll send it to you. But it's just going to pop right
Smoking.
back over to us, which is really weird.
Oh, if you find it, send it to me. I'll ask Hecate to bind it to me or something. Trust me, it might
Whatever,
actually
man.
not
Be my guess, because that thing is a weird. It's a weird thing. It's missing now. We don't know where it's at. I don't know where it's at, but I'm sure it'll pop back up again. You know, we haven't seen it, even though we've been packing and moving stuff. We haven't seen it in months, but it will show up again. We thought we had gotten rid of it. I'm not joking. We could throw that thing out the window. We could be driving through another state, throw it out the window. It'll come back.
Wow.
That thing
Like I
is
said,
definitely
I wish
attached.
I knew about this stuff and cursed objects back a few years ago. Because I almost bought a bunch of furniture from one of the funeral homes that were trying
Oh
to
no, that
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, right.
I can tell you right now, that's probably not a smart move on your part. Don't do
No,
that.
I didn't, thankfully, but I almost did.
Thank God you didn't. Because one of the things we've been wondering about here is the people that used to live here. We're not into antiques at all, but they had a lot of. We felt kind of bad because they had all this nice furniture. They're like, well, we can't take it. If you guys want it, we'll give it to you for a real good price. So we bought like 4 or 5 things, but they left like 10 things here, and I'm like, we didn't buy all that. So there's several things here that we don't, So we made a decision that we're not taking any of this with us. We're just going to leave it, or we're going to take it to the place called Restore or Goodwill. We're going to give it away. It's a lot of really nice stuff. We got a beautiful armoire, but I'm not taking any of this to the new place. I'm starting fresh. There's only a couple chairs here that I'm keeping. Everything else we're starting over because I want to start clean. You know what I mean? I don't want anything that could be. We have 3 tables and chair sets, 3 of them. Not taking any of them. So, so that's pretty much it. And according to one of my detractors, I'm living in a rented mansion, which is bullshit. It's not a mansion. I'm like, these people come up with the things that they say. I mean, it's a derangement syndrome. They have it's Josh Turner derangement syndrome. I'm telling you. What Trump is going through, because these people, they say the most ridiculous, and you're going like, what in the holy hell is this person talking about? My wife was running around for 5 days. Like, it's just like, let's just, anything that pops into our minds, let's read a comic book, and whatever pops into our minds, let's make it up or pretend or whatever. It's unbelievable. It's like, what's the next surprise? What are we coming up with next? They've already burned through everything that they could do. So now it's fake time. I'm assuming, because that video was really it blew me away. It was like, yeah, that's Josh Turner. I'm like, what in the hell? It says the guy's name on there. Like, it's like,
they're not good at editing.
It would be so horrible. But I mean, and then I get this. Somebody messaged me this. This is crazy right here. I gotta tell you. So I'm kind of worried. I'm going like, what is this? So somebody who claims to be a friend, but they're not giving me their full information, which I understand. They probably don't want to be caught up or involved in this, but then this is crazy. And I got sent this yesterday. to basically be on guard for this. And I'm like, oh God, this is another nightmare. But people, I think it's important to show this because I think people need to know that this is even a thing. It never even crossed my mind. But let me find it real quick because, like I said, I think people need to understand something about this. Here it is. So let me their handle off of there. But I had no idea that this was even a real thing. Look at this. This is crazy. Read that. I don't know if you can read it. You can't. It's kind of hard. The camera's not letting me do it.
Can you turn it to dark mode? Maybe that'll make it easier to focus.
Yeah, let me see if I can. I don't know. But anyway, it says how to generate fake messenger chat. Custom messenger chat generator, Facebook chat. So, and then it has the link to the website right there. You can't see it.
Maybe that's why the poster's stupid. We're being attacked by bots.
Thanks, AI.
Yeah, so now they can, I guess. So I asked Anthony, I said, is this a real thing? Is this a thing where they can go and they can make? Yes, absolutely. So now they can make fake chat that you said anything at all. It doesn't matter. And they can do that
for ages.
Yeah, it's and they can do that with your face, and they can make you look like you're saying things that you're not saying. And so I'm going like, oh my God, you got to be freaking kidding me. Yeah, thanks AI. So now nobody's going to know what's real and what's not.
Yeah. That's a lot of people saying we're getting closer to times because this has gone to this point of technology that you're not going to be able to tell what's real or not.
Yeah, and so now I'm just sitting here going like, okay, so a bunch of monkeys are going to have this ability. So what else could they possibly do other than make shit up? Because they have nothing left, and so they have that. Now it's make believe time. Because if they had something, they would have already thrown it out there. But now what else is there? So now they got to come up with some bullshit. But somebody messaged me that and said that to be on the lookout for that. I'll post it on my Facebook what they're doing. They haven't. I don't know if they've done it or they're going to do, but I'm just assuming that will come out along with some video like me supposedly saying something, because they were trying to say that video was me saying something, and somebody finally took credit for it and said it's not him, it was me. And they admitted they did it, and they're just like, no, it's Josh Turner, he did it. And I'm like, holy shit.
Well, have you seen that commercial where Will Smith's touting AI and green screen, and he's like, this is me 20 years ago. Imagine if they did some shit like that with you.
Well, yeah, and it's just like come out and who knows what I'm going to be saying. I'm Josh Turner. You know how I am. Well, I'm down with the devil. Whatever.
Well,
running down the street with the devil.
Right.
You're going to open a portal and let the beast of Revelation walk right through you.
We told you he was the Antichrist. Look at him spinning his lies. And it's just it's unbelievable. But what really has set people, to pay attention is the fervor with which I'm being attacked is making people think, hey, maybe these people are full of shit, because obviously they're so unhinged with the things that they're doing and saying, and all I'm doing is taking what they say and reposting it. And when they drop those stupid whatever fake shit or whatever they do, however they twist it and turn it, I'm just going to take it and put it on my Facebook and let everybody see it. There it is. And all they're doing is just saying, hey, every damn thing they do, I don't care what they accuse me of, I don't care what they say, the racist accusations, the all the crazy accusations that they've made of every type of deviant behavior they've accused me of. I'm just taking it and posting it onto my Facebook, and I let the court of public opinion be the judge. If you think that this is me, if you see that sickness in me to be that way, then you believe it. You believe what you want to believe. But now there are ways that they can say a million things that aren't true. And they're going to say what they're going to say, and they're going to do what they're going to do. There's nothing you can do about it. All you can do is sit back and watch. And the lawyer told me today to relax, because they're trying to say that he was disbarred. He was not disbarred. That is not correct. All it is a certification thing, and it's caught up. So he's like, don't worry. He goes, it's fixed, whatever. And they will, those cease and desists that they think are not known, they think that they're not legit, sorry, boo-boo, they are. And you violated them. All of you did. And so it's coming to a head. And unfortunately, it's going to cost me a lot of money, but it's going to be money well spent to see these people face justice for what they've been doing and saying. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. And so, you know, the hatred that they've spewed on us has just gotten so out of hand. But you got to also look at it in terms of like it's the sign of the times, because no one is more hated than he who tells the truth. And so their hatred and their venom has actually been fueling our growth. We have not, it's not hurt us. They're spinning out and losing subs. We're not. So it's like, hey, do what you got to do, man. Knock yourself out. And they're going door to door now and going person to person to person. When you have to start knocking on people's messenger door, yeah, I'm here from the Jemima's Witnesses. You want some pancakes? No, thank you. We're good. I mean, but that's when it gets to that point, then you think maybe just maybe you're losing, okay, and you're losing it, you know, and it being your marbles, okay. Because I've never gone door to door and knocked on people's, you know, Facebook Messenger and said, "Hey, join me in my crusade. I'm more fervent about this than the most fervent Jehovah's Witness." You know, and they're like, "Who is this again?" We're here with the committee to hate Josh Turner and see him crucified. And they're like, "No, we're good." And then they message me and tell me, "Well, here's what they said," and we got like a bunch of screenshots. But now I'm kind of wondering, like, now do screenshots even really matter? Because now with AI, they can make and say anything. So the same goes for us. We could be posting stuff, and who knows? I mean, it doesn't even prove anything now because AI generated everything is so real.
Yeah, but the lucky ones of us who've seen what we've seen, we're not going to buy the AI bullshit. If we see something, a cryptid, we're not going to discount it as easily as the normal person who's like used to AI and everything being fake. Because God, if I saw a picture of a Bigfoot, I wouldn't immediately discount it. I don't even believe in Bigfoots myself. Never seen one, so how could I? But the shit I've seen, it's led me to believe, hell yeah, there's more things out there that not even AI can make me disbelieve.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the sad thing too about the whole AI thing. It really broke my heart when I started seeing these videos of like Joe Rogan, Donald Trump, you know, Joe Biden, everybody you could think of, you know, saying things that you know that's not actually them saying.
Yeah.
And they're going like, "What in the hell?" And it looks so real. And you know, and there it's just unbelievable how they can make it look. So
yeah, they call them deep fake.
They're called what? Deep fakes. Yeah, deep fakes.
Deep fake, yeah.
There's some hope in this, though. The one positive thing that could come out of this is also the value of like this live streams of in-person meetings, conversations. That value will skyrocket because people will not trust the tech anymore until they create something that actually proof stuff. So there's possible silver lining there, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it says here, somebody says here, well, technically you can alter a screenshot too, but if you know you can trust someone, it helps. Yeah, well, it's hard to trust people nowadays. I mean, who knows what the next surprise is? I mean, it's going to be, and it doesn't surprise me that they're going this far because, you know, once you've marched to the battlefield, what are you going to do? Turn around? You might as well fight. So just keep it up because, you know, everything that they're doing and saying now is going to be fuel for a lawsuit. And they don't believe that we're going to do anything. They don't. They think that we're just playing around, playing games. We're not. And they foolishly listened to someone who they shouldn't have been listening to, and that person steered them completely in the wrong direction. And they're now going to pay for that because it was silly. It was very silly. And yeah, once you get to a certain point, though, with anything, it's like there's no going back. You've gone across the Rubicon. You have to do what you have to do. And I have done that. Me personally, I've crossed the Rubicon to the point where there's no going back. Once you march on Rome, that's it. You know, you're going to have to face whatever it is that you're facing. And so I feel like at this point, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't go full throttle on this legally.
You've got no choice left.
I've got no choice. Yeah. So I have to do what I have to do. whatever comes out, and whatever, and I feel confident in what I've done and said, and I don't really give a shit because at the end of the day, I think people don't really give a damn. People care about content. They're here to look at content and watch the show. Don't give a shit what these people say.
Well, for me, this show kind of is more than just content. This kind of like made me feel normal and less crazy, because who
Helped
else
you.
can you talk about seeing shit like this, you know?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've
it's helped.
turned white when I saw what I saw. My wife saw some shit in the desert. Like, we're the only two people we can talk to without someone looking at us sideways like you're fucking stupid, you know?
Yeah.
But
So what
your
did you
show is a
David?
safe haven for people like that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's why we're all here, just talking about it on the round table here. But what did you see, David? You want to engage us and
Oh,
tell us?
yeah, if you want to get into that story, sure, Josh. I got a little side notes on some of this, so I'm sorry if I sidetrack, but when I was a kid, before I even saw any movies of this shit, this is the first side note. I'm sorry, guys. I'm an asshole. But I had a dream of this same damn thing I saw in the sky as an adult. I've never seen horror movies. I was living in Germany because my dad was stationed over there in the Air Force. And I just thought it was a weird dream, so it never kind of left my mind. You know, it's always been buried in there. And after the Trump thing, losing the election, it was like a few months after that, 2021. It's pretty cold in the front yard. We're in South or Northwest Florida, and I was looking through a celestron telescope, and my mom just got me two nice lenses for Christmas. It was a 5mm or 8mm lens and a 10mm lens. And I was looking through the 8mm lens at the moon, and it was a gibbous, waxing gibbous. I looked it up on the internet. I'm not a moon expert or nothing. I'm an idiot, actually. And while I was looking at the moon, I had already looked into Admiral Byrd, the Vril Underground, the Nazi connection, all that good stuff. And so
Yep.
I was hoping to see some sort of UFO, a ball of light, some crazy shit, right? Because me and my wife, a few months earlier, before I was out in the yard with the telescope, we saw some stuff on Telegram from McAfee, and it was talking about the deep state trafficking kids and Adreno, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to say stuff to get your channel banned or anything, but we drove out to LA in our personal vehicle and checked it out at the Getty because it was implicated in one of those spots. And on the way back, I was driving through Arizona, and my wife, on the way there, she didn't tell me this till we got back. And I was like, why the hell didn't you say anything? But while she was driving, you know where the George W. Bush Highway is in Arizona? It was she was coming out of like the wilderness. I don't know what road she was on. I was asleep in the back, and she was next to another black little tiny car. We have a big black truck, and they were the only two cars on the roads, what she said. And she described exactly what I've seen on the internet a million times. You know how skin crawlers, they're all gray and they're crouching down on all fours, but their legs are bent outward like what's that movie where the dude's messing with satellites and the guys bend their legs back to jump up? They're aliens. But this thing wasn't, it was a skin crawler, right? And she told me about it. And then so we're coming back, and in Texas, I get in a semi rack and our truck's all fucked up. And so while we're back here, I'm looking through my telescope at the moon, trying to find UFOs. And oh, yeah, I didn't get into the, okay, so while I was driving in Arizona after she saw what she saw, I'm driving down the highway near the border. I can see the border fence, you know, and it's me, a couple other vehicles, dead at night. We're coming from LA and towards the East Coast. And I'm looking out into the sky while I'm driving, and a star falls down in front of my windshield. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Am I going on an incline on the road or something? Or is there a shift in altitude? So I thought, that's nothing. And then another star dropped too right next to it. And I'm like, okay, that's fucking weird. And so I leaned forward in my truck and looked up the window and tried to see if anything else was weird. And two helicopters with the red and white strobes came up behind the orbs and the stars, whatever the hell they were, and kept following them, playing tag. And then eventually the stars outdid the helicopters and started chasing the helicopters around. And at that time, a black SUV comes down the off ramp, turns the lights on, and is pulling everyone over. And I've already seen Men in Black. I'm sorry, I'm not fucking stopping. I just mashed on the gas and I kept going. I was like, bump this. So
Yeah.
back to the front yard. We're back at our home a month later, and I'm looking through the telescope at the moon, and exactly how Abe described it is what I saw. It was this fucking I was looking through my telescope at a crater, and this thing flaps by.
Just do me a favor. Don't say the F word so much, because that might
I'm
be
sorry.
trouble. But you can say whatever. But just watch the F word too much.
I apologize. I got a sailor's mouth, even though I was in the army.
Yeah, me too. I try not to. It's a bad habit to break, man. It's hard.
Yeah, it is. So, especially describing something like this, it's very emotional and scary to recall.
I get it.
But as I was looking through the scope, I'm looking through the scope and not with my own eyeballs. I see this thing flapping by. And has everybody seen The Last Voyage of Demetra or Van Helsing? How Dracula turns into like a man bat looking thing.
Yeah.
Okay, he's not. This one wasn't as buff as Dracula and Van Helsing, but it wasn't too far off. But it was midnight black, like you could see the moonlight shining off of his skin. And as soon as I mentally thought about what I was seeing when I was processing it, it's like he knew, I knew, I was watching him, and his head snapped right to my scope, right to where I was looking. And I got ice cold, and I'm tan, I'm a Native American. I ran in my house, and I told my wife about it, and she's like, "What the hell is going on?" Or "What the heck's going on?" And she said, "You're pale as oh man, I can't talk without cussing.
You're pale as a white man."
I was pale as heck. Yeah, and so I described to her what I saw, and as I'm describing it, at this time I have 2 dogs. Right now I have 7 because of this crap. And the 2 dogs, one of them's a Brindle. She's almost like a lion hunter, dude. She's a nice dog. She can kill somebody if she needs to, dude. But I was explaining it to her, we're right outside our bedroom near the front door, and we hear the loudest crash I've ever heard, dude. I've been blown up by an IED, and that terrified me. My heart wanted to jump out of my throat when I heard the crash. And she heard it too, and my wife's a silly girl. She said, "Is it a squirrel?" And then I looked at the dogs cowering, not barking. I'm like, "No, this ain't a squirrel." And so I grabbed a machete and a 9mm and put on a under the shirt vest, because if I'm going to die, at least I'm going to die like an idiot and not like a coward. And so I opened the front door, and as soon as I stepped out the front door, my first thought was something's going to come down from the roof and hit me in the chest. And that would have been it. And I stepped out and nothing happened. And I checked the whole perimeter of the roof, nothing happened. And it happened for a few more weeks, this loud crashing on the roof, and every time I would go out the front door and I would check the same way, bringing the same stuff with me and make sure I'm not going to die. And it eventually stopped out of nowhere. Nothing else came of it. It was the end of it, all the way up to like years later. And that's the end of the story.
You need to give me that story so I can put that in the book, because I'm working on a vampire book.
Yeah, I would love to, because I think that dream when I was a kid, dreams come from God, right? Didn't Daniel get his dream from God?
Yeah.
About Revelation? So I'm not saying I'm holy, or I'm probably the worst person in the chat, and I'm probably going not to heaven, but I think God warns everybody through their dreams.
You are not the worst person. I am. Everybody knows that. I'm the satanicist.
Well, we're all good Christians if we think we're the worst person, because there's room for improvement after that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So thanks for coming on, David. Hit me up the email, joshturner@prtpodcast.com, and send me that story, and we can talk, and I'll put it in the book.
Right on. I believe I've sent the story to the Facebook group. I'm not sure which one, but one of the admin
stories everywhere. But if you send them to that email, I can catalog them and put them into my files, and so that helps, because every day I take them and I just move them over, and But
I appreciate you having me on here and letting me share that, because that's letting a lot off my chest, and I can rest easy. All right, guys, I appreciate you. I'm gonna jump off and let you guys talk.
I'll see you. So that was David. Sean, I'm going to run.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And we'll see you probably jump in on Saturday with me. You can jump in and talk. You always have a lot to say. So
yeah, well, I've got tons. And like I said, I've sent you a messenger. So it's Gray Wolf, but I'm trying to get my name finally changed to my name. So I sent you a PDF. And I don't know if you got my email with the little speed painting I did of what I saw in that dream.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Definitely.
Okay,
So
perfect.
we'll talk again. I appreciate you coming on, Sean.
Yeah, no, thank you. Always great to chat with you guys. You know,
Yep.
It's an honor. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you Saturday. All right. Bye.
Hey, you take care.
So, and then James, of course, looking all spooky there with the red going on. I'm going to see you again too, man. I'm going to jump off. I got to end the stream because I got to go to work, man. I got to go do some patrol. But thanks for coming on, folks. I do have to work all night. Wish me luck. I got to get started, but such is life. All right, guys. It's been fun. It's been real. Thank you for tuning in and listening and just, you know, like always, we just have a good time. This is going to be something we're going to do because PRT is going to be on every night of the week as long as I can do it. Now, we may have to take a little bit of a couple days next week because we're going to be moving a bunch, some stuff, getting more stuff moved. And then in August, we're going to take like a whole week off. So that's coming too. So I will try to take my laptop with me and still do the show from the places where we're going to be at. And we do have some stuff planned. We're thinking about doing an investigation in Lake Texoma. So we are going to just, even though we have to pay a bunch of money for the lawyers and everything else, we're still going to get the cameras. And so hopefully that'll go through. We have somebody who's willing to sell them to us at a steep discount. Hopefully they're still willing to do that. And we can at least get the cameras going so that we can take them on our vacation. And this is Hannibal Barca. So anybody that, you know, that's who that is. That's not Hannibal Lecter. Okay. He was a general. All right. So folks, we love you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to those who donated, even though we asked you not to. I'm not going to tell anybody not to donate anymore. I'm not going to say that because if you feel like people are just really wanting to, then do it. Do what you got to do. But we're not asking for donations. Okay. They're appreciated. But I just said this month, don't do it because I'm trying to prove a point that I don't need that. That's not why I'm doing this. Everything is free. It does not go behind a paywall. I am determined to never do that. And the other thing too, just remember, the only thing we are selling is the $5 membership, so you can be entered into the giveaway on Sunday. We don't put anything behind a paywall like some channels, and if they do that, they do that. That's up to them. That's fine. But we're determined not to do that. So that's the only thing we can do for you as a member, because otherwise we have to do members only content, and we're not going to do that. There's a lot of people who live on fixed incomes who can't afford to buy a membership. They can't afford to donate, and I understand that. Do me the favor of listen to what I'm going to tell you. If you are on a fixed income in any shape or form, do not ever give us a dime. Don't donate to the show. Just sit back and enjoy the content. That's all I ask. Give us a like and a subscribe. That's all you got to do. We are not the devil. We are not the bad people. We are sinners. Just like the people that are lobbing the grenades, they're sinners too. Okay? The sooner that they come to the realization when they look in the mirror that they're bad too, just like we are, they're sinners. We are all born in sin. None of us are perfect. Nobody's holy. That's when things can start to get better. When people start to accept their responsibility and their role in it. I had my role to play in it too. I said negative, mean things back, and I should have just let it. But it's very hard when you're being attacked and chewed on and somebody is not listening to reason. But two wrongs don't make a right. I understand that. And so I'm going to try. I'm not going to guarantee anything, but I'm going to try and not respond to these people because I just don't need to do that, especially when it's probably about to get heated up in a legal way. So let's just you know, whatever. These people, let the kids talk. Let them make up whatever they want to say and make up fake whatever they're going to make. Okay, who cares? Done fighting with them. It'll be fought in court. All right. Thank you for everybody who has been a part of PRT. We love you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for standing by me and my wife and our people. And we'll see you again. Probably tomorrow night, sometime we'll do a Rumble or whatever. And we're not going to talk about this. We're just going to do the show. We got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of stories out there, man. A lot, dude. And talking to Shane earlier, and he was bringing a lot of stuff to the front about Texas. There's a whole lot of stories down here. And a lot to talk about. So we don't need to talk about negative. Thank you so much for joining in and being a part of what we do. And good day. Good night, wherever you are.